The large screen in Earth's United Space Command showed another message from the Galactic Council. Dr. Sarah Chen watched with tired eyes as alien representatives laughed at humanity's latest space achievement. It was the third time this month. "Look at these humans," the Zextal representative said, his blue scales shining under the council lights. "They think they can understand dimensional travel. They barely left their own solar system 50 years ago." More laughter filled the council chamber. The Morcath delegate, a tall being made of crystalline structures, joined in. "Perhaps we should explain it to them like we do to children. First dimension is a line, little humans. Second is a plane. Or is that too complex?" Sarah's hands tightened into fists. Around her, other scientists from Project Ascension kept their faces neutral. They had learned to hide their reactions well over the past 5 years. "Let them laugh," Sarah whispered to her team. "They don't know what we've achieved in secret." Deep below the surface of Mars, humanity's real progress stayed hidden from alien sensors. The research facility stretched for miles underground, protected by new technology that made it invisible to advanced scanning methods. Inside these halls, Earth's brightest minds had made discoveries that would shock the galaxy. Dr. James Wilson, Sarah's deputy, walked into her office carrying a tablet. "The latest test results are in," he said, his dark eyes bright with excitement. The seventh dimension calculations were correct. All of them. Sarah took the tablet, her hand shaking slightly. 5 years of work, thousands of failed experiments, and countless sleepless nights had led to this moment. The numbers on the screen confirmed what they had suspected. Humans understood dimensional physics in ways the other species had never considered. "They think we're studying basic dimensional theory," Sarah said, looking at the complex equations. "They don't realize we stopped following their traditional approach 3 years ago." The aliens had discovered dimensional travel through strict mathematical progressions. First dimension to second, second to third, slowly working their way up. But humans had done something different. They had looked at the entire dimensional spectrum as one connected system. Dr. Chen, a young scientist, burst into the office. "The energy readings from Chamber 7. They're off the charts." Sarah and James rushed to the testing chamber. Inside, a small metallic cube floated in midair, surrounded by shifting patterns of light. The cube wasn't just accessing the seventh dimension. It was creating a stable field around itself. "Record everything," Sarah ordered. "And check our sensor shields. Nothing can leak out to the orbital satellites." As her team worked, another message from the Galactic Council appeared on the screens. This time, the Prex ambassador was speaking. His tentacles moved in what his species considered a dismissive gesture. "We understand humanity's pride," the ambassador said, "but dimensional mastery takes millennia to achieve. Accept your place as students. In a few thousand years, perhaps you'll be ready to understand fourth dimensional basics." Sarah muted the transmission and turned to her team. "Update the project status to Phase 2, she said. "It's time to begin construction of the Transcendence." The scientists around her nodded, their eyes showing the same mix of determination and hidden pride. In the background, the test cube continued to bend reality around itself, proving that humanity's primitive understanding had surpassed anything the galaxy had seen before. "They think we're dimensional infants," Sarah said, watching the cube's performance readings climb higher. "Let them think that. When the time comes, they'll learn that humanity's greatest strength isn't in following the established path." She looked at the muted screen, where alien representatives continued their mockery of Earth's efforts. "Our strength is in finding new paths altogether." In the testing chamber, the cube pulsed with energy that would have been impossible according to traditional galactic science. But then again, the galaxy had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated human ingenuity. And soon, very soon, that mistake would change everything. 3 months after the cube experiment, Earth's secret Mars facility buzzed with activity. Deep in Construction Bay Alpha, the Transcendence took shape. The vessel looked deceptively simple from the outside. A sleek, dark hull designed to appear like a standard human warship, but its true nature remained hidden within. Dr. Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck, watching as workers installed the dimensional core. The technology they'd developed would have made the galaxy scientists question everything they knew about physics, if they knew about it. "Final systems check is complete," James reported, joining her at the window. "The dimensional matrix is stable. She's ready for her first real test." Sarah nodded, remembering how far they'd come. "Any detection from the alien satellites?" "None. Our sensor masks are holding perfectly. They still think we're building a mining facility." James smiled. The Zextel ambassador even sent another message mocking our primitive excavation techniques. The Transcendence's main hull glowed softly as power flowed through its systems. Unlike traditional ships that forced their way through dimensions, this vessel worked differently. It didn't just travel through dimensional space. It became part of it. Dr. Chen, a young technician, ran up to them. "We're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They're doing their annual review of developing species." Sarah and James watched the transmission in her office. On screen, various alien representatives discussed Earth's progress over the past year. The crystalline Morcath delegate spoke first. "Humans continue their simple attempts at understanding dimensional theory." "How?" "Adorable. They've built some new ships, though they're barely worth mentioning." "Indeed," the Prex ambassador added. "Their latest vessels show no significant advancement. Perhaps we should offer them some basic technical assistance, something suitable for their limited understanding." While the aliens laughed, Sarah pulled up the latest test data from the Transcendence. The ship had just successfully phased through 7 dimensions in a controlled sequence, something the galaxy's best ships couldn't do. "Status report from engineering," James said, checking his tablet. "The dimensional core is maintaining perfect stability. Energy output is beyond our highest estimates." Sarah walked to a secure terminal and entered her codes. On the screen, a simulation showed the Transcendence's true capabilities. The ship could manipulate dimensional space in ways that should have been impossible. "They think we're stuck trying to understand basic dimensional travel," she said. "Meanwhile, we've learned how to weave through dimensions like threads in a tapestry." In the construction bay below, engineers finished installing the ship's outer plating. The dark metal contained millions of microscopic dimensional anchors, another innovation the galaxy knew nothing about. "Message from command," James announced. "They want to know when the ship will be ready for full trials." Sarah watched as the Transcendence's systems came online one by one. Each light that flickered to life represented years of human determination, creativity, and silent progress. "Tell them 2 weeks," she replied. "And make sure our test zone is far from any alien observation posts." The council transmission continued in the background. The Zextal representative was showing charts of Earth's supposed technological level. "As you can see," he said, "humans remain centuries away from any meaningful dimensional advancement." Sarah turned off the transmission and faced her team. "Final checks on all systems. I want the Transcendence ready for full power tests by tomorrow." As she looked at the ship through the observation window, Sarah thought about the galaxy's mistake. They had judged humanity by their own standards, their own paths of development. They never considered that humans might find a completely different way. "Let them keep underestimating us," she said quietly. "Soon enough, they'll learn what humanity can really do." In the bay, the Transcendence pulsed with hidden power. Soon, very soon, the galaxy's laughter would turn to silence, and humanity would reveal just how far they'd come while no one was watching. Red warning lights flashed across Earth's United Space Command Center. On the main screen, a massive alien fleet approached humanity's outer colony on Europa. The Krellfar ships, known for their aggressive expansion, had decided that human territory would be their next conquest. Dr. Sarah Chen stood beside Admiral Richards as they watched the enemy fleets approach. "How many ships?" she asked. 200 warships," the Admiral replied grimly. Our conventional forces are outnumbered 5-1. Europa's defenses won't hold against that. The emergency transmission from Europa's governor played on a side screen. They're demanding immediate surrender. They say primitive species like us don't deserve to hold valuable territory. Sarah exchanged looks with James, who had just rushed into the command center. They both knew what the Transcendence could do. The ship had passed all its tests with results that exceeded their highest expectations, but revealing it now would expose humanity's true technological level to the entire galaxy. The Galactic Council has responded to our distress call, an officer announced. The main screen switched to show the council chamber. The Prex ambassador's tentacles moved in what everyone now recognized as a dismissive pattern. While unfortunate, this conflict is beyond our jurisdiction. Humanity's limited defensive capabilities are not our concern. Limited capabilities, James muttered. They have no idea what's waiting in Mars orbit. Admiral Richards turned to Sarah. Dr. Chen, I've received the classified briefing about your project. Is it ready? Can it make a difference? Before Sarah could answer, another transmission cut through. It was the Krell-Thar fleet commander. His scaled face filled the screen, sharp teeth visible in what passed for a smile in his species. Your colonies will surrender, he declared. We've studied your primitive vessels. You cannot hope to resist. Accept your place as our subjects, and we may let some of your people remain on Europa. Sarah stepped forward. Admiral, the Transcendence is ready, but once we use it, everything changes. The galaxy will know what we've achieved. They're starting their attack run. An officer shouted. Europa's shields are at 60%. Admiral Richards straightened his uniform. Dr. Chen, I'm officially authorizing deployment of the Transcendence. Save our people. Sarah nodded and activated her secure comlink. This is Dr. Chen. Authorization code Phoenix 7 Delta. Launch the Transcendence. Maximum speed to Europa. In Mars orbit, hidden behind advanced stealth fields, the dark hull of humanity's most advanced ship came to life. Its dimensional core powered up, creating ripples in reality that no alien sensor could properly understand. Enemy fleet is launching their first wave. Europa's shields at 40%. Sarah watched the tactical display as the Transcendence moved. The ship didn't just fly through space. It wove through the dimensional fabric itself. In seconds, it would cross a distance that should have taken hours. Multiple incoming transmissions, the communication officer reported. The Krell-Thar, they're laughing at our pathetic attempt to send a single ship. The Krell-Thar commander's voice boomed through the speakers again. You send one vessel against our fleet. Your primitive understanding of warfare is almost amusing. Watch as we destroy your last hope. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Transcendence, you are cleared for full dimensional activation. Show them what humanity has learned. On the tactical display, the Transcendence appeared near Europa. To the alien fleet, it probably looked like a simple, unremarkable human warship. They had no way of knowing they were about to witness something that would change the galaxy forever. All stations, Sarah commanded. Prepare to record everything. The galaxy's laughter stops today. The Transcendence's dimensional core reached full power, and reality itself prepared to bend to humanity's will. The Krell-Thar fleet's laughter echoed through Earth's command center as they watched the lone human ship approach. Their massive warships turned, weapons ready to destroy what they thought was a desperate last attempt by primitive humans. Such a simple design, the Krell-Thar commander mocked. Look at how basic their technology is. Not even basic dimensional shielding visible. Dr. Sarah Chen stood calm at her station. Transcendence, initiate Protocol Omega. Show them what seventh dimensional mastery really means. The effect was instant and stunning. The Transcendence's plain exterior suddenly rippled, as if reality itself was being folded around it. The ship didn't just activate shields. It began to manipulate the very fabric of space-time. What is this? The Krell-Thar commander's confident voice cracked. Our sensors can't lock onto their ship. James worked at his console, monitoring the Transcendence's systems. Dimensional core at full power. All systems performing beyond expected parameters. They have no idea what they're looking at. The alien fleet launched their first attack. Hundreds of energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaked toward the Transcendence. But instead of hitting the ship, they disappeared. The weapons vanished into pockets of folded space that the human vessel created around itself. Impossible, screamed the Krellfar weapons officer. They're using dimensional manipulation we've never seen before. Sarah activated the ship-wide communication. This is Dr. Chen to Transcendence crew. You are cleared to demonstrate humanity's full capabilities. Show them why they should have looked closer at our primitive research. The Transcendence moved, but it didn't move like any ship the galaxy had ever seen. It phased between dimensions, appearing and disappearing at will. One moment it was in front of the alien fleet, the next it was behind them, then above, then seemingly in multiple places at once. How? The Krellfar commander's scales had lost their color. Your species barely understands basic dimensional theory. You can't possess this technology. We understand more than you think, Sarah replied calmly. While you laughed at our primitive efforts, we discovered something you never considered. Dimensions aren't separate layers to break through. They're all connected, waiting to be woven together. The Transcendence demonstrated this truth. It created dimensional pockets that trapped alien ships, not by force, but by gently folding space around them. Weapons fire became useless as shots traveled through shifted dimensional spaces, emerging light years away from their targets. From the Galactic Council chamber, now watching in stunned silence, the Prex ambassador's tentacles trembled. This is beyond anything in our records. They've mastered dimensional manipulation at a level we thought impossible. The Krellfar fleet tried to retreat, but found themselves caught in a web of dimensional shifts. Their engines, powerful as they were, couldn't break free from spaces that existed in multiple dimensions at once. To the Krellfar fleet, Sarah broadcast, "Your ships are now contained within a seventh dimensional matrix. You can't escape because you're trying to move through space in ways that no longer apply here." In Earth's command center, Admiral Richards watched with pride as humanity's true achievement was finally revealed. "Dr. Chen, I believe you've just changed the course of human history." The Transcendence completed its maneuver, creating a stable dimensional field that held the entire enemy fleet in place, not through violence or destruction, but through an understanding of space and time that the galaxy had never imagined possible. "Send word to Europa Colony," Sarah ordered. "They're safe now." She looked at the main screen, where the once mighty Krellfar fleet floated helplessly in their dimensional prison. "And send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them humanity is ready to discuss our place in the galaxy. As equals." The laughter had stopped. In its place was a silence filled with awe, fear, and the realization that humanity had never been primitive at all. They had simply been very, very patient. The Krellfar commander had stopped laughing. His mighty fleet, trapped in the Transcendence's dimensional web, hung powerless in space, but some of his ships still tried to fight back, refusing to accept their new reality. "Fire everything," he ordered in desperation. "Use all weapons. Show these humans the true power of an advanced civilization." Dr. Sarah Chen watched calmly from Earth's command center as hundreds of energy beams and torpedoes launched toward the Transcendence. James stood beside her, monitoring the ship's systems on his display. "Should we show them what else the ship can do?" he asked with a slight smile. Sarah nodded. "Transcendence, initiate phase shift protocol." The human vessel's response changed everything the galaxy thought it knew about warfare. As the alien weapons approached, the Transcendence didn't just dodge or block them. It changed their dimensional state entirely. The deadly energy beams shifted into higher dimensions, becoming harmless light shows that ripple through space-time. "Impossible," the Krellfar weapons officer shouted. "They're not just avoiding our attacks. They're They're rewriting the laws of physics. Sarah opened a channel to the trapped fleet. Your weapons can't harm us because they no longer exist in the same dimensional plane as our ship. This is what happens when you underestimate primitive humans. In the Galactic Council chamber, watching in stunned silence, the alien representatives saw their worst fears confirmed. The Morcath delegate's crystalline form trembled as he spoke. They've mastered dimensional manipulation at its most fundamental level. While we focused on brute force, they learned to weave through reality itself. The Transcendence demonstrated more of its capabilities. It created stable dimensional pockets where time moved differently, trapping enemy ships in moments stretched across multiple realities. When a group of Krell-Far vessels tried to combine their firepower, the human ship simply shifted the space between them into a different dimension, making their coordination impossible. Admiral, Sarah turned to Richards. Should we show them the full extent of what seventh dimensional mastery means? The Admiral nodded grimly. They need to understand completely. Transcendence, Sarah commanded. Activate the reality loom. The space around the human vessel began to change. It wasn't just bending or shifting anymore. It was being rewoven. The Transcendence created a complex web of interconnected dimensional spaces, each operating under slightly different laws of physics. The Krell-Far fleet found their advanced shields useless as they existed in dimensions their technology couldn't even detect. Their sensors, designed to track movement through normal space, went blind as reality itself refused to behave as they expected. What kind of demons are you? The Krell-Far commander's voice shook with fear. Not demons, Sarah replied. Just humans who learned to think differently. You all assumed dimensions were walls to break through. We saw them as threads to weave together. The Transcendence moved through its created dimensional tapestry with perfect control. It could appear anywhere, shift anything, and control the very fabric of space-time within its influence. The galaxy's most advanced weapons became useless toys against human understanding of higher dimensions. Message from the Galactic Council, James announced. They're requesting an immediate diplomatic conference. Sarah looked at the main screen, where the once mighty Krell-Far fleet floated helplessly in their dimensional prison. Their weapons, now firing randomly in panic, disappeared into pocket dimensions or emerged as harmless light years away. Tell the Council we accept, she said, and inform the Krell-Far that their fleet will be released once they sign a formal surrender and peace treaty. As the enemy fleet hung suspended in their dimensional cage, Sarah thought about how far humanity had come. The galaxy had laughed at their primitive understanding, never realizing that humans had simply chosen a completely different path to power. The laughter had stopped, and in its place, a new era of galactic history was about to begin. The Galactic Council chamber looked very different now. Where once alien representatives had laughed at humanity's efforts, they now sat in nervous silence. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the speaker's platform, surrounded by holograms showing the Transcendence's capabilities. As you can see, she said calmly, humanity's understanding of dimensional physics goes far beyond what any of you imagined. The Prex ambassador's tentacles twisted anxiously. But how did you hide this level of advancement? Our monitoring systems. We're looking for what you expected to see. Sarah interrupted. You watched for traditional dimensional breakthrough attempts. We chose a different path entirely. The chamber erupted in worried whispers as Sarah displayed more data. The Transcendence's defeat of the Krell-Far fleet had sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Now, every species that had mocked humanity was scrambling to establish better relations. The Zextal Empire requests an immediate technology sharing agreement. An aide whispered to Sarah. They're offering access to all their colonies and resources. James, standing beside her, couldn't hide his smile. Funny how quickly their attitude changed. Remember when they called us dimensional infants? The Morcath delegate rose, his crystalline form reflecting the chamber's lights. We must know, is the Transcendence your only such vessel? Have you built others? Sarah met his gaze steadily. That information is classified. But I will say this. What you saw was only a fraction of what we've achieved. The statement wasn't a lie. Deep in the Mars facility, 3 more ships were already under construction. Each one incorporated improvements based on the Transcendence's performance. But the galaxy didn't need to know that yet. Earth Command reports 17 species have requested diplomatic relations in the last hour, James reported quietly, including some who previously refused to even acknowledge us. Sarah nodded and addressed the Council again. Humanity is prepared to share some of our insights into dimensional physics, but first, we need to discuss the galaxy's power structure. Things must change. The Krelthar representative, newly appointed after their fleet's surrender, spoke up. The humans are right. Their mastery of seventh-dimensional physics proves they deserve a leading role in galactic affairs. Leading role. The Prex ambassador's tentacles curled in distress. They were barely considered a spacefaring species days ago. And whose mistake was that? Sarah asked quietly. You judged us by your standards, your methods, your understanding of progress. You never considered that we might find our own way. On the massive screens around the chamber, footage played of the Transcendence weaving through dimensions, effortlessly controlling space and time in ways that defied traditional physics. The display made several representatives shift uncomfortably in their seats. We propose a new galactic charter, Sarah continued, one that recognizes all paths of technological development, not just the traditional ones, one that encourages innovation rather than mockery. The council chambers buzzed with discussion. Species that had once been enemies now huddled together, discussing how to handle this shift in power. Humanity, the primitive newcomers, had suddenly become the most advanced civilization known. Message from Earth Command, James whispered. They've approved the release of basic dimensional theory documents. Just enough to prove we know what we're talking about. Sarah nodded and pressed a button on her console. The chamber's holographic displays filled with equations and diagrams, just a small taste of human knowledge, but enough to make the galaxy's best scientists question everything they thought they knew. The age of mockery is over, Sarah announced to the silent chamber. Now begins the age of learning. The question is, are you ready to learn from those you once laughed at? The silence that followed was answer enough. Humanity had changed the galaxy forever, not through violence or force, but through quiet innovation and patience. The ones who had laughed the loudest would now have to learn the hardest lesson of all. Never underestimate those you think beneath you. 1 year after the Transcendence's revelation, Earth had changed beyond recognition. Massive dimensional engineering facilities now orbited openly around the planet. The Mars shipyards, no longer hidden, produced vessels that redefined what was possible in space travel. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in her new office atop the Global Science Tower in New Geneva. Through the window, she could see ships using dimensional corridors to arrive from across the galaxy. Many carried alien scientists and diplomats, all eager to learn from humanity. Another delegation has arrived from the Zextal Empire, James reported, entering her office. This time, they've brought their finest dimensional physicists. Sarah smiled, remembering how those same Zextal had once mocked human science. And what do they think of our primitive understanding now? They're still trying to grasp the basics of our approach. James placed a tablet on her desk, showing the latest diplomatic requests. The Morcath are offering their entire crystalline database in exchange for just one lesson on dimensional weaving. The Transcendence, now a symbol of human ingenuity, was displayed as a hologram in the center of her office. 3 more ships of its class patrolled Earth's space, each more advanced than the last. But they weren't weapons of war. They were proof of what humanity could achieve. Message from the Galactic Council, her computer announced. They've ratified the new charter. Humanity's position as leaders in dimensional science is officially recognized. Sarah walked to the window, watching as a group of alien students entered the new physics academy across the plaza. Young beings from across the galaxy now came to Earth to learn humanity's unique approach to understanding reality. Dr. Chen, a voice called from her door. A young human scientist stood there, excited. The dimensional corridor network is complete. We can now reach any major system in the galaxy within minutes. This was perhaps humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, a new way of connecting worlds. The dimensional corridors didn't just create shortcuts through space. They wove worlds together in a way no one had thought possible before. How are our visitors adapting to the new physics courses? Sarah asked James as they walked through the Academy's halls later that day. Some are struggling, he admitted. They're so used to thinking about dimensions as barriers to break through. Our concept of weaving reality together, like threads in a tapestry, is challenging for them. In the main lecture hall, Sarah paused to watch a human professor explaining dimensional theory to a mixed class of human and alien students. On the screen behind him, complex equations showed how reality could be reshaped by understanding the connections between dimensions. The Krell sent another apology, James mentioned, along with a request to study the footage of how the Transcendents contained their fleet. They still can't believe how completely we changed their understanding of physics. Sarah nodded. The galaxy had learned valuable lessons about underestimating others. The species that had once laughed at humanity now sent their brightest minds to learn from Earth's scientists. New breakthrough in the dimensional labs, her communicator chimed. The team has managed to create stable ninth-dimensional spaces. Progress hadn't stopped with the Transcendents. Humanity continued to push the boundaries of what was possible, but now they did it openly, sharing their discoveries with those willing to learn. You know what the best part is, Sarah said to James as they watched ships weaving through dimensional corridors above the city. We didn't prove ourselves through destruction or domination. We did it by understanding the universe in a way no one else had tried. The sun set over New Geneva, its light bending slightly through the dimensional fields that now protected Earth. Humanity had changed the galaxy not through force, but through innovation and patience. The laughter had stopped long ago. In its place was something better: respect, collaboration, and a new age of discovery, where humanity led the way not as conquerors, but as teachers, showing the galaxy that sometimes the most primitive-seeming path could lead to the greatest understanding of all.